Hello, Gonçalo. It's a pleasure to have you here. Welcome to my little mini podcast thing. Thank you so much for accepting to do this. I've been doing a little bit of research on where you come from, and we come from the same place. We come from Portugal, so
Mhm.
it's really interesting to be speaking with someone that also pursued an international career and also finds himself like helping people land jobs. I've seen that you have a pretty consistent background in human resources. So, like, I've seen that you worked for Fidzai, a Portuguese unicorn,
Right.
and also in the Netherlands and also in Berlin, where I am currently at. So, I'm really interested to know, did you always know that you wanted to go into HR and to help people and jobs? What's your
Uh,
story?
Yeah, first of all, thanks a lot for the invitation, Mariana. It's a pleasure to be here. And yeah, let's jump a little bit
Mhm.
to my story because I didn't knew what I wanted to do when I start my degree, and I didn't have a clue when I handed my degree what I would like to do. But my first internship was in recruitment. I kind of fall in love with the area because before I was working as a sales assistant in Phone House and also at Vorten, so
Mhm.
two quite known stores in Portugal. And those two jobs really allow me to interact with people, to be less shy because I was a super shy person. And those two jobs really allow me to have more skills in terms of communication. And then the first internship that come up in my radar was in recruitment. So I started to work in recruitment. Then I went to a bigger consulting. I spent there 2 years. I learned really a lot of things about how is to conduct a good interview, how we should give feedback, and a lot of things about HR. And then Fidzai show up, and I was much more focused on tech recruitment. So even at Fidzai, I wasn't sure if I would like to be in HR or recruitment, but then lives come
Mhm.
up, and then I really found in love with recruitment. So sometimes I say that recruitment found me and not me to found recruitment.
That's very interesting, but I really relate to that. And actually, most people I ask, okay, so how did you
Yeah,
like even think that you wanted to go into recruiting? They tell me exactly that. It's kind of like not you go search for it, but it finds you, and then you find it yourself in it. So
exactly.
really cool story, and I'm really glad that you did find yourself in this field because you're helping so many people with your content and with your like mini TikToks thing, which I find really inspiring and with so many
Thank you.
actionable tips. So I think I would like to go a bit more technical in
Hmm.
these. I mean, not technical, but it's still a conversation, like more like tips. Okay, guys, this is what you should do to land a job and to land a job that actually fits you. And
Hmm.
so we can like splitting these into different phases because I think the first one would be the pre-application, like
Hmm.
before you even apply for a job. And
Yeah.
I know I've seen that you talk about this. So my first question would be, how do you go about finding a company which has a culture that aligns with you and with your values?
Yeah, that's a pretty hard question because really depends on your background, your context, your environment, your financial situation. So it's
Yeah.
really hard to give a straightforward question. But I always advise my clients to really think before starting applying, really think about first before starting to do a CV. Because if you start applying with the CV, probably you'll land interviews, and then you will ending up with something that is not bad. It's a salary, it's a job, it's something that probably will fulfill you,
Yeah.
but then doesn't give you everything that you are expecting. So if you are starting your career, this is fine, like I did. So I didn't know what to do. Let's try recruitment. Recruitment was nice. I continue on that. Cool. When you are starting your career, that approach is just fine. But when you already have some experience, you already know what you like, what you don't like, which type of people would you like to learn from, which type of people you don't like, because we cannot please everyone. And it's important to really know what we don't want. That is much easier, I would
Yeah.
say, for most of people to understand what they don't want. And after you understand really well what you don't want, you start to trying in the things that you believe that you want. And finding those right companies, you need to have a lot of talks. For example, another thing that I advise people on TikTok and sometimes my
Mhm.
clients is speak with people from companies that you'd like to, but without asking an interview, without asking the job, asking them in a message, hey, can I have 15 minutes of your time to make some questions regarding your professional background? If you
Mm-hmm.
send 10 message, probably 1 or 2 people will answer you, and you will have your 50 minutes, and you really take advantage from there and really drink everything that you can from that person. And then you already have a better view. Then you try to apply for
Yeah.
jobs after that. Of course, this, if you need to put money on the table and if you need to feed a family, this approach doesn't work, right? So that's why I say this approach doesn't work for everyone, but this is like the approach that everyone should do if they can. If they cannot do it, they should try more often. And if they need to switch jobs more often, why not? The market, it's what it is right now. So a lot of people are changing. Even me in Amsterdam, I changed already once. Yeah, well, I just changed once because it's my second company. Because I didn't like that much the company that I was in. Was a super nice company, super nice culture. The challenge was
Mm-hmm.
good, but wasn't awesome. And to be honest, I don't want to waste 1 or 2 years in a company that I don't really like just because looks nice on the CV.
Yeah.
I think that think about looks nice on the CV, it's already over. And then I already have enough experience, and I spent 4 years in a company like Mercedes-Benz IO. That was a project that I started since the beginning. So I already have things that I did on my career that can prove that I will stay longer in the company, but I will stay longer in the right company. So when you already have some background, it's a way easier to make those type of decisions. When you don't have it, you need always to think a little bit better if you should do it or not.
Oh my God. I think you touched so many important points that I would just like get all of them and go into all directions. But one thing I love that you said is that this looks good on TV is no longer what people are looking for. That's kind of cancelled
Yeah,
because before everyone had like these goals that they wanted to go just because, I mean, it looks good. Everyone wants to do it. It's very competitive. It's very hard. But I think there we are seeing a we have been seeing a big shift in this mentality, especially with the pandemic, because people are valuing more their mental health and
yeah,
actually add value to a place that also adds value to themselves. So that's really good. And also, I love how you said that you should find what you don't like instead of just being like, okay, what's the one thing I like? And yeah, just finishing up with saying that I think it's easier for you to find a job when you already have a job.
true.
So and circumstances are different, and like in my personal case, I'm not feeding a family, so I have more this mentality of like I'm still young. I mean, I don't have kids at home, so I can like aim to find my dream job and my passion and my purpose more than maybe someone who's already more advanced in life or just has different circumstances. We are all different,
Yeah.
so that's really really important.
Yeah. Sometimes I work
And
with people,
yeah.
just adding to that, I sometimes work with people with 40, 50 years old that sometimes come from Brazil to Portugal. And those
Hmm.
cases are really hard because they came with a currency that's the value it's really low in the Europe. So they need to find a job in 1 or 2 months. And sometimes my best advice for them is finding a job that pays the bills right now while you are looking for a better job. And sometimes this is what people needs to do. But if you are young, wild, and free, and you can do more stuff, maybe this is not the right approach. So that really depends on your context, your situation, and also your mentality to take risks and not to go to the first things that show up.
Exactly. And okay, let's say one of those people with like, it's irrelevant for the question, but like one of those people they have a job and now they're looking for another job. They
Yeah.
find a job that they actually want to apply for, and now they look at the description and they haven't applied yet. So
Hmm.
what can they do in the background before applying to have better chances of actually getting that job?
Yeah.
Considering like resume, consider preparation, everything.
Yeah. I will tell you what I do when I
Okay.
was applying and when I was searching for the job. For example, in the Netherlands, I don't want to grab about it, but I got 2 offers that I refused because I was exploring the market. So I applied for several companies to really feel the market, to understand how much I will ask regarding payment, so all of that stuff. And I just accept the third offer that the company give it to me because I wanted really to explore. The other 2 offers were really similar in terms of money, but the company wasn't what I was looking for. So I decided to pass it because I knew that I had markets in Europe. So I wanted to do something else. And when I was applying to jobs, the first thing that I did was look who is the team that I might work with. So in my case, I'm working in recruitment, so I always will search recruiter or recruitment in that particular company. Then I will see the HR team as well to see how senior they were, in which companies they worked before, understand the size of the company as well, and also understand the culture of the company already. All of this before applying. So you have a lot of information on the website. You can see what people are posting on LinkedIn or social media. So there is a lot of information. Of course, that you don't need to spend 2 hours analyzing a company before applying. But if you spend half an hour, you can really be more target on your cover letter, on your CV, and really increase the success of your application. Then one thing that I didn't do, but sometimes I recommend to my clients, it's opening the job description in one side, open the CV on another side, and really see which keywords are being asked on that job description. And this is really simple to do, and this is really tailored the CV to the company. You are not lying on your CV, you are just adapting your CV to be more target to the company. And if the company is bigger, this is even more important because they will receive a lot of applications and you need to have the right keywords on there. So this is like the prep homework that you need to do to have your CV really strong and to really know the company before really sending the CV. Because this is like if you are in a dating app like Tinder, you can really see the profile of the person and really try to discover something, or you can just send a random message. And I think if you research a bit about the person, in this case about the company, your possibilities of success will be much higher.
Yeah, coming from before, so even I love how you gave the Tinder example, because like even if you are looking for a specific type of person, of company, in the end even companies are people, right? So if you should be yourself, but you should
Yeah,
adapt to what they are looking for as well. And yeah, and also you working in recruiting, you probably see a lot of CVs, and when they tell you, oh, recruiters only look at the CV for 6 seconds, like, that means that you are actually looking for a specific profile. So when people can understand what the recruiter are looking for, I mean,
yeah,
they increase their chances of success. And it's not because like you don't care about people, you just like CV.
you
It's
just
because
receive
you're,
too many. Yeah,
yeah, you just have too
even
many and you're looking for a specific thing, right?
yeah, even though I'm not that good yet, sometimes I take like 30 seconds, at least 1 minute to review a CV. I'm not so good as those recruiters that can review CVs in 10
Yeah.
seconds, but maybe one day I'll be there. Maybe one day I won't. But I usually take more time to review CVs. But then sometimes you see on the spot that the person doesn't work for that vacancy and you reject them. Sometimes you are in doubt, you take more time. Sometimes you are really sure because people did really this work of preparing the CV to the company they are applying for.
Yeah. So since maybe it can be because you're also looking for something. Maybe at the first glance it's not what you're looking for, but then you just dig it a little bit and okay, let's give this person a chance. I'm also on that phase. I'm just an intern,
Yeah,
so I'm like, oh my god, but this person looks so nice. I just let's pass him to the first interview. But sometimes like I see some CVs and I'm like, okay, people really don't know what they're doing, and this is so bad to say, but it's like I know online you might not find the best information sometimes. You can go online and search like, oh, resume tips, like resume to dos and not to dos. But sometimes there's things that are lacking, and there's websites that are really outdated or people that are
hmm
so far away from the job market. So these things will happen. So
yeah.
what are like the biggest mistakes that you see people doing in their resumes, in their applications?
Um, Even I think last week or 2 weeks ago, I posted a video regarding that
Hmm.
is adding information that is not relevant. So, for example, your age, your photo, if you are married or if you are not married, your gender. So,
Hmm.
I advise everyone to put on the CV things that are really important for the role and to show the results, to show the competencies that you have that will allow the company to understand that you are the right fit. If you are a girl or a boy, that doesn't, at least for me, it doesn't matter. But now,
Hmm.
if you look to the Portuguese markets, you have a lot of companies that sometimes are a bit more old school and really think that sometimes someone with 50 or 60 years old are not a fit for the job because they are hiring an intern. And when I post that video, a lot of people don't know, but age is very important because I'm
Yeah.
applying for internship and I need to have less than 30 years old. So on that case, the age might be relevant. Okay, but
Yeah.
in 99% of the case, it's not relevant. And even sometimes for internships, I already talk with candidates that were overqualified for the internship, and we ending up to hire them because they show the skills. Of course, this doesn't happen all the time, but it happens more often than people really are aware of. But then they need to talk with the right people because there is so many companies in the market, and there is a lot of good companies, and there is a lot of companies that sucks. Let's be realistic. That's an
Mhm.
opportunity because you can work on the good companies, or you can work on the companies that are not so good. So you need to really to understand them, and that this also will impact a lot on your experience and career, because the problem is if you start your career in a shitty company, probably the good companies already know that company is not that good.
Yeah.
So will be harder for you to enter on that league, but it's not impossible. So if you talk with the right person, if you don't spend too many years there, it's of course possible to make the change. And of course, I'm being one time very generic because what is good for you
Mhm.
might not be good for me, and vice versa.
Yeah. Yeah, 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 completely. And also on that topic, I think you also can have more opportunity to grow in a shitty company because you understand what you don't like. Again, like
Yeah,
what you don't like, what you wanna look for in your next role, in your next company. And you can also take more. I mean, I remember I interned in a company, and it's not that the company was bad, it's just that the internship programs were not excellent. So that was one of my first impressions of a company. And I remember I was like, oh my God, is these all companies, are all roles, are all jobs like this? Because
yeah,
I don't think I can be happy if my entire life is like this. And hopefully, and I know that it's not like that. And I found things that I actually enjoy doing. But I remember in that company, I thought, okay, if this is my first opportunity, if this is not where I want for my life, at least I will take this to learn as much as possible and to try to like change how things work inside, because there's more space and more for me to like just grab something and drive results.
yeah.
So as a first
Yeah.
point, that can also
I
happen.
agree. And I can also bring an example. My first
Yep.
internship, I was earning €0, zero money. I was working for free for 3 months. And that was the philosophy of the company. So you work for free
Hmm.
during the 3 months. If you are good, you stay, and we give you an internship contract. After 3 months, I changed for a consulting that paid me a salary, was good. But my colleagues that stayed there 2 years, after two
Hmm.
years, they were leading a team, which is really rare after 2 years of experience. So
Yep.
even though that the company was really severe in the beginning, for the right profile, for a really commercial profile, they can really grow really quick in the role. For me, that wasn't my expectations, but for some people that was great, and they could get
Hmm.
higher in the hierarchy much quicker than me. But that works for them, didn't work for me one more time. And that necessarily good or bad, it's just that fits my approach or my philosophy of life, that fits your approach. So if that works for you, happy for you. Didn't work for me, but I know really well
Yep.
the reasons. At the time, I didn't knew the reasons. I was like, I want to try something else because that pays me more. And then I ending up, besides earning more, learning a lot of more stuff that allow me today to be where I am.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And we can go into the topic of free internships. Because one thing I love about LinkedIn, and I know you're also like this because I've seen your posts and you just cut the fluff and don't sugarcoat things because, I think this and this is like what it should be. I mean, it's your opinion again. Not everyone has to agree, but I mean, we cannot want everyone to like us because we also don't like everyone, right?
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, you see so many of these things like, oh my God, free internships need to die, unpaid internships need to die. Like, if you if you can hire an intern, if you want to hire an intern, you should have the bandwidth to like pay him and make him feel valued as well. So I mean, that's a whole topic in itself.
yeah, yeah.
But
It's a
I'm
big
glad you could learn and you
yeah.
found like something.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
at the time, and not so much today, but starting a career in HR 8 years
Hmm.
or 9 years ago was super hard. That was the way to go. You needed to have an internship, and 99% of them were unpaid internships. Some of them really paid like the food allowance or transport allowance. This one didn't pay anything, but
Yeah.
was the first one that said yes to me. And at the time, I just had a degree with 3 years. My English was really bad. I didn't know how to conduct an interview, so that internship allowed me to have the basis to get another better job, and that job allowed me to go to Fidzai, and Fidzai allowed me
Yeah.
to go to Mercedes. So this is like the ladder and the career that I built for me, and everyone else needs to do their own path. And sometimes we need to be giving one step back to give two steps forwards, and yeah, that really depends on your situation. So I'm not 100% against unpaid internships, depending really on the area, and depending, not unpaid, sorry, internships, unpaid work. Because for example, when I start to do career coaching sessions, my
Hmm.
first sessions were really cheap, and then I start to see that my clients were willing to pay me more, and I start to increase my price. And today I have clients saying, "Oh, Gonçalo, you are too expensive." And I say, "Yeah, because I worked in a very cheap way 3 years ago, and now I'm not doing that anymore. Because
Yeah.
for you to be commit with your results, you also need to pay the price. And the price is this: if you want, good, let's work together. If you don't want, I'm also happy, because I will find clients that are willing to pay my price." And that's the same
Yeah.
thing about your salary. When you propose to a company and they say, "Oh, you are too expensive." Okay, it's your opinion. I can bring this and this in terms of value. If you don't want to, there is a lot of people looking for jobs right now. They are, they aren't, but they have options in the market if they don't want to pay that much.
Yeah, yeah, I really like that, especially when you are freelancing or you are building your own reputation. You need to, start and act after a while when you're like, okay, I can drive results. This is my price, and people will look for you, and they will, pay what you are worth.
Yeah,
And yeah, so I think it's very relative in a way as well. So depends on the type
totally.
of work, the type of like growth you want to take. But it's very much what you said. So it's like also about taking a step back and looking at where you want to go, and understanding that you don't need to get your dream job tomorrow. That
Yeah,
it's also a matter of getting closer to that step by step, and taking the wrong way sometimes, because that's also how you go back and you like find what works and what doesn't work for you.
exactly.
And yeah, and like in terms of interviews,
Hmm.
like the actual interviews. So let's say like I applied, I landed a first interview, and now I need to prepare myself. So what do you think helps someone stand out in an interview setting?
Hmm. One thing that a lot of people don't know, it's really
Hmm.
their story, their pitch, their way of selling themselves. And I think I'm pretty good on that part, but I become good with time and doing a lot of interviews. But a lot of people, when there is that like silly question, "Oh, introduce yourself," or "Tell me about you," they don't know an answer. And they should know an answer, because they will need to tell what they did before, what they want to do. So there is a lot of things they
Hmm.
should be already prepared, even not talking about any particular subjects. So this is just your life story. You need to know your life story really well, like 5 minutes life story with your main highlights, results, why you did those changes, why you took your degree, why you pursue this type of area. This is like basic. If you don't know this, probably you are bad at interviewing. And interviewing, it's a skill. Unfortunately, all the job market that I know, 99% of the companies do all the recruitment process only with interviews. I really think that there is other ways of evaluating people, but interviewing, it's the easiest one to implement. Not saying that is the easiest one in terms of costs, because it's super expensive for companies to do interviews. Sometimes if they do it 2 or 3 people, just multiply their hourly rates and you'll discover how much interview costs for a company. It's crazy expensive. But it's how the recruitment market is working right now. It's the same thing with CVs. That's why, for example, when I approach someone on LinkedIn, I don't ask their CV, because I already have their LinkedIn. I don't care about their
Yeah.
CV if they have a good LinkedIn. But sometimes candidates say, "Oh, I have my CV here. Can I send to you?" Yes, send to me, but won't make a difference. If the LinkedIn is good, if the LinkedIn is not complete, that makes sense. Coming back to the interview, so know your life story. This is really important, and then bring results, bring stuff that you've done that really make impact to other people, to other business, to your previous company. This is really important. This should be already on the CV. Some points. It's something that I also advise people to do, to really put metrics on the CV on things that you did. For example, on my CV, I put how many hires I did. It's really easy to measure. But if you're in sales, you can say how many sales you do per month, how you improve the process in your company. There is always something that you did to make your company better. If not, you should do that and then start applying if you are working in a job. So life story, results, and then really know your motivation and be really clear also on your motivation, because people will ask you, why do you want this job, or why do you want this company? And you should have a nice story behind that, saying, because this company, it's in this industry and I love this industry since 5 years old. That's nice. That's specific. So really use examples that resonate with you, that are true. Don't find like excuses, or don't make something that is not true, because people will feel it. Especially if the interviewers already did a couple of interviews, they know to tell if
Yeah.
someone needs to come up with a new story they come up 5 minutes ago, or if it's something they really believe on. So, and also don't lie on the interviews. I think that's really bad, because yeah, companies will notice, and if they don't notice during the recruitment process, they will find out later, and maybe there it's even worse, because you might be fired in the first month because of that. And I think that's not nice for you, for your reputation, and also not nice for the company.
Yeah, those are really great tips, because I think people forget that when you are in an interview, the interviewer has done like hundreds, if probably hundreds of interviews, so they can like sense where people are coming from, and
Yeah,
if they are genuine or not, and also if they ask follow-up questions. I mean,
yeah,
it will just not work out for you if you are lying, or if you are just, exaggerating, and then they find out. And also something that I only learned when I started in recruiting is that there's kind of a background of applications that people did, and you can check their processes. So people will leave feedback. So you can actually go back and see the feedback that people have left if that
hmm,
person has interviewed for this company in the past,
yeah,
but not just for these companies, as for like parenting companies or associated companies. So you can probably like check the processes and reference. So it's really important to, even if it's not you for that role, that you
hmm,
just use your personal experience to show up what you can bring to the table. And even if you don't land that opportunity, I mean, there's another one, but at
yeah,
least you didn't go into the blacklist or something. Because this is a
exactly.
thing. This is a thing, and I don't think that people know about this. It's quite
Yeah.
scary, but I mean, if it's
Yeah.
just yourself, then
Yeah, it's not really a
you,
list, but then
yeah.
people talk, and the recruitment world, especially in Europe, I see that it's really small. We always know each other.
Hmm.
We interview the same people, sometimes for the same type of role, so it's really easy. And then some companies also have what I call a background check process.
Hmm.
So, for example, they might check if you had criminal records before. They might check with your colleagues that you usually indicate if your work was good or not. So there is ways of find out if you were really good or not. And
Hmm.
another thing not related with this, one thing that people sometimes are scared to do on interview is saying, I don't know this, and then come up with a solution instead of just trying without admitting they don't know. So I think this is
Yeah.
one of the number one mistakes that people do on interviews. It's really don't admit when they don't know something, and really try to come up with an answer on the spot, which it's nice because it shows
Hmm.
proactivity, but at the same time doesn't show that you are humble and that you can admit that you don't know something. Because this is super important, because if we are in a work environment, I ask you, Mariana, do you know this? And you say, yeah, I will do it. And then we come up and you didn't deliver because you didn't knew. And if you admit it right away, you could ask for help and you could build a solution together. But if people don't communicate, if people they are not transparent with each other, things takes much more time, much more effort, much more money, and companies are really looking for this people that can be easygoing, that will help us them to save money or to earn more money, and finding excuses without admitting that you don't know, it's something that won't allow the companies to scale as fast they want.
Yeah, absolutely. I for sure have struggled with a lot of things that I don't know. And I think also because we can go into this thing of, okay, now you interviewed, you were amazing, you landed the opportunity, and you are starting on the role. I think it's very positive if you don't know things and if you have a lot of space to grow. Because I mean, if I go into a job and I know everything, oh my God, after 1 week, I'll be completely,
You'll be bored. Yeah.
yeah, I'll be bored, I'll stagnate, and I will want to leave, right? So there's a lot of room to grow if you don't know things, but you need to ask them. But I also don't think that you should be asking everything. You should try
Hmm.
to figure out on your own, and you have a lot of pages. And I mean, the company should have guides on how to behave and how to like drive the tools that they have. So you should try to find out by yourself. And then when I mean, you get to a place where like, oh my God, now I don't know where to go, then is when you okay, these are my questions, I don't know how to go further, but I've tried, so they will help you, and next time, I mean, you will manage it better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a hard balance because sometimes if you spend 10 minutes with someone, you'll save one day of your work when
Hmm.
you are starting your career. So I think the skill it's really when I should make the question and when I should dig in and really research more about it. And it's a really fine line. But I think you are totally right because that's also show proactiveness. Also show that you can really search for information and make sure that you try to get all the info that you need before come up with a solution. But in some problems, it's much easier, especially when you are in the office, to
Hmm.
say, "Hey, can you help me here?" Or if you are in remote, you can call your colleague and really have a 5 minute chat, and that solves the problem. So that really depends on the level of the problem that you're also facing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also think it's like a two-way street. So on one
Totally.
hand, it's from your side, right? You should be the one who also understand how the company works and how you should position yourself and like how better to learn and how each person individually like wants to be approached. Because
Yeah.
some people like you to call them, some people like you to email them or Slack them or just, send them like a calendar invite and that's it. So you should also have this flexibility, but I also think it's part of the company's should be part of the company's culture to
Yeah.
also like have space for you to learn and to understand how to like learn and grow inside the company itself. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just a quick example. In my previous
Yeah.
company here in the Netherlands, they had the habit of we work with Zoom, and you could just call
Hmm.
anyone on Zoom. Sometimes people pick up, and people sometimes they don't pick up. But it was a really
Hmm.
nice thing because you just call someone and see if they are available to talk with. And in the beginning was super strange. Like, oh, this guy is calling me. I'm not ready. But I answered, had the talk, solved the problem instead of
Hmm.
sending an email and waiting 2 hours for their answer. And then I start to do the same with my colleagues and everyone. And I think it's very uncomfortable in the
Hmm.
beginning, but then saves you a lot of time. You can if you can just have a quick chat instead of sending an email that is a lot of more less it's more subjective, so it
Yeah.
leaves more room to interpretation. And sometimes with calls you just solve the problem. If it's easy for human nature, it's not, but it's much better. Otherwise, we wouldn't do
Mm.
interviews on recruitment. We'll send a questionnaire. People will send a questionnaire back. And to be honest, I already did interviews kind of like that. They put us in the video. You need to record yourself and answer the questions. And that's not nice, right? It's no human interaction, and so there is a lot of ways to communicate. And but sometimes I really believe that just call
Mhm.
someone and really solve the problem on the spot. It's much faster than waiting too long to do it.
Yeah, and on those interviews, I really don't like them. Like looking at the camera, there's no
Yeah,
person. There's just like you in the room.
super
Some
weird.
places do it, and I also
Yeah,
understand it's like an initial check. And yeah, the cool thing, it's really important, especially for human connection, because you can see how people are doing, you can sense how their emotions are doing as well. And it's
Yeah.
not just a cold message that you need to think how to structure phrases. And I mean, so it's also very good for these times where we need to connect with each other. And
Yeah.
yeah, so I have a very last question for you. If there was one thing that you'd like every job seeker to know, what would it be?
Mm, good question. Just one thing, right? Um, don't be afraid to try, because what I see, it's a lot of people are afraid of sending the CV, of asking a more bold question on the interview, of asking someone to have a call just to understand their role. So don't be afraid. It's like my advice, because worst case scenario, you stay where you are right now. That is, if you are without a job, if you are in a job that you don't like, you stay on that job that you don't like. But if you risk a little bit, you can earn much more, and that much more could be a great job, could be great relationships, could be a great salary, and you only can achieve that if you take some risks.
Yeah, I love that. I was listening to a podcast the other day of Stephen Bartlett, and he was
Hmm.
saying exactly that. The people who get more are also the people who ask more and who try and do pursue more risky
Yeah,
opportunities in a way. Because if you just sit and wait for what life can bring you, I mean, you stick what life gives you.
yeah,
So
exactly.
great advice. I would sign underneath.
Great.
And yeah, thank you so much for your time here. It was a pleasure finally meeting you and to have this conversation. And thank you so much for everything you're doing for all job seekers and for your amazing posts. So just keep doing what you're doing, and everyone like should thank you and subscribe to you. And
Uh,
yeah, thank you so
thanks.
much.
Yeah, no, thanks a lot for your kind words, Mariana. It was a pleasure to be here and share a bit about me. And yeah, if anyone else wants to know more, just follow me on LinkedIn, Instagram, or TikTok. And yeah, happy to help you to find a new job if you need.
Amazing. Have a wonderful rest of your week.
Bye
Bye.
bye.